So Tesla's at it again, making one of those huge, all-in bets they're famous for. But this time, it's not on a new car or even a rocket. Nope, it's on the tiny, impossibly complex silicon chips that are going to power its entire future. Okay, let's dive into this incredibly audacious plan to take on the entire semiconductor industry all by themselves.
You really have to wrap your head around the scale of what Tesla's aiming for here. It's just staggering. We're not talking about supplying a few products. We're talking about building millions of advanced cars, an eventual fleet of, get this, billions of humanoid robots, plus all the insane AI training that has to happen behind the scenes. And that doesn't even touch the chips they'll need for sister companies like XAI and SpaceX.
So, you've got this huge ambition, right? Well, it smacks right into a massive wall. The sheer number of cutting-edge chips Tesla needs to actually pull this off is, as our source material says, an amount that you just can't buy. It's not available. You can't pick up the phone and place an order that big. So, what do you do when the supply chain for your entire future just doesn't exist?
Well, if you followed Elon Musk for any amount of time, you can probably guess the answer. If you can't buy it, you build it. Yep, Tesla has decided it's just going to manufacture its own advanced semiconductor chips completely from scratch.
Now, you got to understand this is a monumental task. We're talking about something entire countries have poured fortunes into and still struggled with. So let's first look at the bull case. Why on earth do so many people think Tesla can actually pull this off? The whole bull case, the optimistic view, it really boils down to one simple, super powerful idea: Elon Musk's track record. As one analyst put it, yeah, there are always notorious delays and setbacks, but when it comes to the big, world-changing stuff, he pretty much gets it done. And when you dig into that track record, you start to see why people are so bullish. Musk himself has actually said he doesn't think this is as hard as creating reusable rockets. The data shows Tesla consistently gets a better return on its money and builds its factories way more efficiently than its rivals. Plus, the bulls have this other big argument. By the time the really huge bills come due for this project, the cash from Robotaxi and Optimus will be flowing in so fast, it'll basically pay for the whole thing. Okay, but for every bull, there's always a bear, right? And you'd be making a huge mistake to ignore their side of the story because, man, the risk of failure here is very, very real, and the costs, they're just astronomical. Let's just start with this number, $50 billion. That's an initial estimate from Barclays for what this whole project could cost. That is an enormous number by any standard, but here's the really scary part. That might be a massive underestimate. And this right here, this just shows you the insane scale of the challenge. I mean, look at this. Samsung is dropping $160 billion on its chip facilities. China has funneled hundreds of billions into its own national effort, and they're still not at the cutting edge. So the idea that Tesla can come in, build something even bigger and more advanced for a fraction of that, it definitely raises some eyebrows. Yeah, for the bears, it all comes back to history. So where the bulls see this track record of eventually getting it done, the bears see something else. A long, long history of overpromising on what they can do and, maybe more importantly, when they can do it. And in an industry that moves as fast as semiconductors, being late can mean you're already obsolete when you launch. Okay, so at the very heart of this whole thing is one piece of tech that's, well, it's almost like magic. It's called extreme ultraviolet lithography, or EUV for short. This is the only way on planet Earth to make the world's most advanced chips, the ones Tesla is targeting. And you know what? This is where Tesla has a massive, almost unfair advantage. See, countries like China, they've been totally blocked from buying these crucial EUV machines from the Dutch company ASML, so they're stuck using older tech. But Tesla, they can just buy them. This one thing, this single fact, could literally be the difference between this whole plan working or failing spectacularly. All right, so we've got a really strong case for why this could work and an equally scary case for why it could fail. To figure out which way this might go, the best thing to do is look at Tesla's own history with these kinds of moonshot projects. So, is there a pattern we can spot? All right, first up, full self-driving. This is like the perfect example for the bear case, right? For years, the promise has been fully unsupervised driving just around the corner. But the reality? Well, it's been, as they say, super, super late. The deadlines keep moving, and even what done looks like keeps changing. Okay, but then you look at something like the 4680 battery. This was another one of those absolutely huge challenges. And guess what? It was also super, super late. But look at what happened in the end.
They now have a world-class, in-house manufacturing capability that's powering the Cybertruck and the Semi, and they're building more production lines around the world. This is the bull case in action.
So you see this fascinating pattern starting to emerge, don't you? Tesla takes on these seemingly impossible challenges. They are almost always monumentally late, but more often than not, that painful, delayed process ends up creating a world-class, industry-leading capability that nobody else has. So the billion-dollar or maybe trillion-dollar question is, will that same exact pattern hold true for making chips? Okay, let's just imagine for a second that they pull it off. They get through the delays, they spend the tens of billions of dollars, and they actually build the world's most advanced chip factory. What happens then? So what's the endgame? What does that future actually look like? And that brings us to the final and maybe the most important question of all. If Tesla becomes a leader in making semiconductors, will they turn into the next NVIDIA or TSMC? Will they start selling these incredibly powerful chips to other car companies, AI startups, or, anyone who wants to buy them? And the answer, when you look at the analysis, is a surprisingly simple and very firm no. It's not that they wouldn't want to sell them. The thing is, they literally won't be able to. And this last part, this really shows you the true, absolutely mind-bending scale of what they're planning. The demand from inside Elon Musk's own family of companies is going to be so gigantic that there simply won't be any chips left over to sell. Think about it. Millions of robotaxis hitting the road, a stated goal of billions of Optimus robots, plus the ever-growing compute needs of XAI and SpaceX. Tesla is going to need every single chip it can possibly make. So you see, this isn't just about building a chip factory. This is about building a completely self-contained engine to power a future that, right now, it seems like only they are building.